Hey there, crafty friends, welcome back to my page. I feel like it's been so long. I think it's been almost 2 months I haven't uploaded a video. For today's video and tutorial, we're gonna learn something really new and very highly requested, which is 3D cake toppers. Now, this is not gonna be a complicated tutorial to follow. I really wanted to make this tutorial for all of you beginners. This is 1000% doable for any beginner. This is a cake topper that we're gonna do together. Remember, I did the number 8 because my son is 8 years old, but you could do whichever number you want. You just need to follow along with my tutorial. I'm gonna hold your hand through this whole process from beginning to end. We're gonna first start off with all the materials that you'll need for this project, which is not a lot at all and it's very inexpensive. Then we'll dive into Cricut Design Space, where I screen record the whole process of how to do this layered look. Then number 3, of course, finally, we're gonna put everything together step by step. Pay lots of close attention to this tutorial because there's a lot of good tips I'll be giving you throughout this whole process from the beginning to the end. So let's get right into the materials that you're gonna need. Cake toppers is one of the crafts in the Cricut world that doesn't cost much to make. For example, for this exact project that we're doing today, I'm only using 3 different colors of cardstock paper. It's a very nice navy blue one, a holographic cardstock, which is super exciting. I've never cut with this before, so this is gonna be a learning experience for both of us, okay? And then I have one more light blue color, which I already used up, but I like to save my scraps. By the way, do that. You can always reuse this for any other little project. Besides cardstock, of course, you're gonna need something to make it 3D. To make cake toppers look 3D, you need these foam double-sided little tapes. I personally love the little tablet ones. I think they're great. They come in all these different shapes and sizes, really small, medium, large, but I also like these as well. I'm gonna link for you guys below in my Amazon storefront. I have a whole little folder just for cake topper things, what you need for it. But I will tell you, for those of you who are on a very strict budget, go to the Dollar Tree. I hope you know they have foam double-sided tape in the Dollar Tree in the craft section. All of this, whether it's on Amazon or Dollar Tree or Walmart, they're all very inexpensive. But if you want to go to a Dollar Tree and pick some up, by all means, I do it all the time as well. But of course, my favorite brand is these that I do pick up from Amazon. I feel like the tackiness is way more stronger, if that makes sense, especially when I'm using glitter cardstock and other more texturized cardstocks. The thing you're gonna need is, of course, a glue gun. I love this glue gun so much. This one is wireless, so this is like, you know, you grab, go, heat it up, go work with it. Now, what's more important than the actual glue gun, no matter how cool and cute it looks, is the glue that you're putting inside of it. Please listen to me, my friends. I only use Gorilla glue sticks, period. I've tried many other brands. They all do the job, they all stick well, but there's something about the Gorilla glue sticks that just do it, like, I feel like that glue lasts longer than the actual project, if that makes sense. So please make sure to add that to your cart on Amazon. I have a link below as well, please. That's very crucial. Now, the 4th thing you'll need is, of course, the little acrylic sticks for the actual cake topper, right? So these, I get them on Amazon. I have so much. It's very inexpensive. It comes with like over 200 of them. I have this size here. If I'm not mistaken, this is the 6-inch one, which is usually the standard size. They do have longer ones like 9-inch or 8-inch or whatever, but I do like the 6-inch. I think it works fine. And then, of course, the last thing that we're gonna need, the star of the show, is our Cricut machine. For today's video, I am using my Cricut Maker 3, and you're gonna need at least one standard grip mat, or maybe you have like a brand new light grip mat. You could possibly use that one as well. I kind of like to do in between. So if you have a brand new light grip mat, which is that baby blue colored one, then you could definitely use that. But let's say you have a green one that's a little bit not brand new, if that makes sense, that's not going to tear up your cardstock, you could also use it as well. When working with cardstock, just always avoid using like the really strong grip mat, that purple mat. We don't want that, or the pink one either for fabric, because as soon as you cut it, it's going to cut great, but when it comes to removing the excess, it's going to rip up your cardstock everywhere, and your project, you have to do it all over again. Okay, so now you know all the materials that we need for today's project. I'm always the go-to person to make any type of cake topper for any of my family events, birthdays, so much more. So I have a lot to teach you. So let's get right into it. Let's hop over to Cricut Design Space. I have so much to teach you in Cricut Design Space. So let's start off by hitting on the text button. I have this specific font right now because I was working on a project previously, but let's go ahead and expand this since our cake topper is going to be more on the bigger side. Now let's go to our font section. I want to remind you guys that there's different fonts, whether it's on your Cricut system, your bookmarked, of course, and your recent ones. I wanted to also remind you guys that you can move this little box around. So I know there's been cases where you're trying to like look at the font at the same time while you're choosing one. Just know if you hover over the top part of this tab, you can move that around. So in my bookmark section, I am going to use a Cricut Design Space font, which is Yearbook Solid. This matches perfectly for my son since he's really into soccer and all this, sports stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and expand it by just pulling on the corner tab. And then now we need to think about our layers and our colors. I just really want to make this as easy as possible for any beginner to follow along. So keep in mind that first layer, I already know I have my cardstock here in hand. I want it to be in light blue. So I made it light blue. Now notice here, I put offset. Offset is your #1 tool when it comes to cake toppers, okay? I love this little percentage that's 0.056. It's a very tight offset. I like to also call offsets like a border, right? So it's not too thick and it's not too thin. One tip I could give you in the whole world of cake toppers is you could do as you please, but the tighter the layers are, the more cool and not so overly big or sloppy it's gonna look, right? So it might be a hassle, cutting all of this, but at the end, it's going to look so nice. So one thing I like to do, remember on your right hand side of Cricut Design Space, you see how you have the layers. All of those layers are in order, which is going to help you a lot when you're creating your own cake toppers. So notice how every time that I'm going to make a new offset, which means like the next layer, I always want it to be layering a little bit bigger than my most recent one, right? So I'm always going to click on the most recent one that I did and then click offset from there. And what I really like to do for any beginner is color coordinate each layer on Cricut Design Space. Like that when it's time to cut, your Cricut will organize all of that for you, which will make your life way easier when it comes to assembling this and putting it in order. So again, play with it, play with the color cardstock that you have at home, see what route. I love to have like a lighter color as my first layer, immediately followed by a darker or maybe the darkest color of cardstock I have, and then I'll play with the fun colors in between. But remember, this is your cake topper. This is your color choices, so you do as you please. Just the best tip I could give you is a nice contrast in between the layers looks really nice. It really like bounces off and shows more. Now, let me tell you, you don't have to do so many layers like how I'm doing now. I'm just making this tutorial this way for you could see how easy it is, even if you're doing 8 or 7 or 6 layers. Just know that a 3D cake topper could look amazing just with 3 layers as well. So if you want to start small now, you could go ahead and just make 3 offset layers and then we'll do the application together. But just know that easily right here, I believe I have about 9 layers. So it's going to have that really 3D pop-up effect. The more layers, the more 3D your cake topper is going to look. But just because you have 2 or 3 layers doesn't mean it's still not going to pop up. It's still going to look nice. It's just if you want that dramatic type, then definitely do so. Now, another thing that we need to always do is your last layer, which means your biggest offset layer. I want you to hit duplicate. I want you to make a complete same size, not bigger. Just duplicate that last layer. There's a reason for this and you'll see it at the end. Now, of course, we're going to hit make it. And now you see what I'm saying. Your Cricut's going to organize everything for you by color. So obviously, since I'm using a 12 by 12 mat, obviously it doesn't all fit in one shot. And then I also wanted to show you this. If you right click on something, you could also move it to a different one. So let's say the last minute you change your mind and you wanted that specific layer of A to be dark blue instead of that silver color that you want to cut with. You could move that just by right clicking and hitting move, and it will move to whatever exact mat that you want it to be in. So that's something that a lot of people don't know. Just wanted to share with you. Now, for For my holographic, mine is like 11 by 8. It's kind of like a legal sheet of paper. So I had to like kind of move my cutouts a certain way so it could fit. It's not my standard 12 by 12, right? So now that I put that in there, it's time to put it into my Cricut. I love how Design Space actually has a setting for holographic cardstock. Again, I'm learning with you guys on this part. I saw it, I used it, let's see how it goes. And I was actually really happy with the outcome. So I'm going to go ahead and click on holographic cardstock. Now, of course, we let our Cricut do its thing, right? So always, for all my beginners, maybe you've never cut cardstock before, especially holographic, just like me, it didn't have any problems whatsoever reading it. Your Cricut knows exactly how to cut it and where to cut it due to what we're doing on Cricut Design Space. So once that's done, it's going to look like this. And notice how now it's on mat number 2. So that's how Cricut Design Space works. You cut one part, then you take out your mat, then you're going to put the next color on, put it back in the machine. It's step by step, color coordinated, and in order. So now we're going to go ahead and cut my second silver mat, which is my holographic mat. I'm going to go ahead and use again the holographic cardstock. By the way, it cut perfectly. I'm going to show you right now live here. I love this little trick, by the way. Never pull cardstock up from the mat. Try to bend your mat like a taco. I'm not saying to snap your mat and completely fold it in half, but just bend it like in a C shape. For like that, you don't have to bend or curve your cardstock whatsoever, and it's way easier to lift it from the mat. And notice here, it was a perfect cut. Like, perfection. I was so happy with that cutting setting. Now we're going on the third mat, which is my light blue mat. So I like teaching this because the color coordination helps the beginners a lot. Like that, you don't get too confused. For my more expert cake toppers or people who are more comfortable with doing things in one mat, you could possibly use, you know, a 24-inch mat and just have cut slices of the cardstock and just cut everything in one shot. But we'll learn that in the future. Right now, we want to keep things color coordinated and more easier. So you're going to keep on repeating this process, no matter if you're only using 2 different colors of cardstock or like me 3 or even more. It doesn't matter. Just keep on repeating this. Follow your Cricut Design Space, cut the mat of the color that you wanted to cut, and just repeat and repeat and repeat. So now we're officially done cutting every single layer possible that I created. So this is very important. I need to pre-assemble everything before I start gluing things together, right? So I always teach this in all of my lives and in all of my tutorials on TikTok or on Instagram, but I cannot stress this enough. I sped this up for you because there's no need for you to watch me do this whole time, but put it in the order. I know sometimes it gets confusing. That's why it's really nice to go to your Cricut Design Space main page where you could see like the design order that you had created and just follow it from there. Obviously, you could also tell because every layer is going to be a little bit bigger than the following one, right? So just start assembling everything, put it in complete order. Then I want you to flip everything over like what you see me doing here and just start from the end to the front, if that makes sense. So the last layer, you're going to flip it over and you're going to start doing the whole gluing process on that order from back to front. Okay. So this is a perfect timing where we're going to go ahead and get our little double-sided foam, little tablets, it's what I call them. Or you can even use the rectangle one. You're going to see me here in a faster motion doing either or. They both work the same. Okay. They both have the same thickness. There are some brands out there in the market that the foam is so skinny, so it doesn't give you that really elevated like cardstock look, like that 3D look. But the ones that I'm linking for you guys below my Amazon storefront or the ones in the Dollar Tree are pretty thick, which looks great. So you're going to place down some dots. Don't go crazy. For this type of design, it's just a number. You don't have to put 100 of these foam tapes on there. Just put it on the main points. But notice one thing. Notice how I'm not putting any of these foam dots too close to the edge, right? I'm kind of keeping it spread out, but not like to the end. It's more to the center. Why do we do that? Because when we're assembling it, we want to hide those foam pieces as much as we can. Even though everything's going to be stacked up together, if you move it side to side and if you have those foam tapes too much to the edge, you could start seeing it. As you see here, you can't even see mine because I'm putting it more in the center. So I'm going to speed this up for you. Enjoy this couple of seconds of me layering this, and notice my technique is always the same. I'm always using the same thing, the double-sided foam tape. I'm pressing down, I'm making sure I have the right layer going up next, removing all of the little pieces of that paper protective of the foam tapes with my tweezers. I feel like that makes me work faster, and I love how every single layer that I keep on doing, it starts looking better and better and better. Like that whole 3D effect just starts really showing off. It's great to see it in person while you're doing it, because when you're building it in Cricut Design Space, it still looks kind of like off and bland, because obviously we're doing it on Cricut Design Space, which is not something in real life, right? It looks very flat. This is a true example of trust the process. Like the more layers you do, the more 3D this is gonna look, and I can't even wait to start showing you guys how to incorporate like different print and cut or even names in there, mixing it all in there to make this like a really wow factor for a cake. So now we're in the last layer. Remember I told you guys to duplicate that last offset layer? Now, since I'm doing the number 8, I have it easy right now because the number 8 is the same shape. But let's say you're doing like the number 7. I need you, when you duplicate that last layer, you need to reverse it, okay? Because the reason why we do this, if I didn't do this, this cake topper would have finished and the back would have been this plain white color, which doesn't match the theme whatsoever. I love to have the back still be in theme. I'm not going to do the whole number 8 all over again because that's a waste of cardstock, but I am going to have at least one base color there. So I'm going to get my glue gun. I'm going to start gluing my acrylic stick on there. I put a couple of those little foam tabs there, and then I'm going to put that last duplicate layer right on top of that as well. And that's going to really help hide that white boring backing of that cardstock. It's still going to look like a party from the back. Customers love this because maybe somebody's taking pictures from behind the cake and they're getting some nice pictures, and you see that like white boring cake topper. I mean, you know, if you're gonna do this, do it right, you know. And another thing that I always tell all of my followers is to make sure, like, always have your logo somewhere small, but you could put it in the back of the cake topper, right? Or maybe you could charge an extra fee. Maybe you could have like a little writing in there. Maybe the person ordering it wants to have like a little saying there, or the date of the party. Like, you know, there's just so many possibilities that you could run with this. Just make sure that your cake topper looks good from the front and from the back and from all sides. This cake topper looks absolutely beautiful. I am so proud of you guys. If you stayed through this whole tutorial, good job. I want to hear about it in the comments. What did you think? I personally always feel that cake toppers come off as so, oh my god, this is only for expert cricketers, right? It's definitely not, but you need to know the basics. Once we cross the bridge of the basics, now we can start exploring with other more complicated things, right? For our next YouTube tutorial, I'm going to show you how to start incorporating names and different type of fonts, because there's some fonts that are going to want to make you pull your hair, like the script ones, but then there's other fonts that are very easy to work with. And then of course I have another video coming for all of you when it comes to print and cut, so maybe having some character designs in there, really bringing this cake topper to life. I guess this is a part where I tell you to like, subscribe, comment, I don't know, let me know what you think about this tutorial. If I have any parents out here, I hope this is the last time that you ever buy yourself a cake topper, okay? If you own a Cricut, you should be doing your own cake topper. It's totally doable, and it's honestly a really nice experience. I like to save my sons every single year, and I'm putting it as part of a scrapbook so he could kind of see my art throughout the years when he was in elementary school. Love you guys, and thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy to be on YouTube again. Bye.